Members' motion with no legislative effect. Members wish to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. The Council will proceed to a debate on Ms. Nixie LAM's motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of civil service. 4 members will move amendments to the motion. This Council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. I will first call upon Ms. Nixie LAM to speak and move the motion. Then I will call upon Mr. WU Yingpeng, Mr. CHAU Siu-chung, Mr. Cho-kwong, and Mr. Dennis LEUNG to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. I now call upon Ms. Nixie LAM to speak and move the motion. Ms. Nixie LAM. President, I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. The core of this motion is to conduct a mindset change and reform to the civil service. Through improving the training, we can enhance digitalization of government services, strengthen oversight of government outsourced service, enhance its innovation capability, and enhance proactive commitment in action. This will allow our civil servants to be more responsible and enhance the efficiency and efficacy of our civil service. Civil servants is the frontline officers of the government. The policies of the government, whether they can be implemented, lies with the mindset of the civil servants. I recognize these terms of the government's efforts in reforming the structure of civil servants. We have, through the Civil Service College, offer regular training for our staff. We have updated the Civil Service Code. We also now have this performance appraisals enhancement scheme for civil servants. This will enhance the professionalism of the civil service team. Given the changes in the society, the demand of the people have been diversified. Some civil servants were passive in their work. They don't have forward-looking plan and perspective. Many departments and bureaus work in silos. They don't seek breakthroughs. As a result, many policies that may benefit the people are not implemented well. Pain points faced by the people have not been addressed because of the inaction of the civil service. Digitalization is low. The management of outsourced service is lacking. All these problems undermine the efficacy of governance of the government. This undermines people's confidence in the government. By improving the overall efficiency of the government, we need to have a mindset change in the civil service team. This motion is about how we should enhance the efficiency and quality of government service. I hope that the civil servants will be more proactive, will be more innovative, and more active in addressing people's livelihood. I think that the government's training need to be up to date. They should focus on broadening civil servants' perspective. They need to enhance the sense of responsibility among their staffs so that members of the public can benefit. Also, we need to have a reform of the system. Now we have so many new industries, so many new trends. Traditional ways of doing things cannot meet the needs of the society. The government need to continue to reform. The government need to review the recruitment strategies and training mechanism. We need to recruit talents with international perspective. For in-service colleagues, we need to offer them regular development courses so that they are kept abreast of the time. At the same time, we need to break down silos among bureaus and departments. This can speed up implementation of policies. Take the assessment mechanism as an example. I think that the existing system overly focuses on procedures. I think that the government should increase the weighting of quantifiable KPIs in colleagues' assessment and appraisal report so that we can adopt a result-oriented assessment mechanism to reward colleagues or staff that is proactive, that is innovative. And at the same time, we need to follow up on colleagues who are irresponsible, who try to shirk away responsibility. This is how we can make sure that the civil service team is vibrant, is proactive. Also, I think that we need to accelerate the digitalization of government services. There is lack of data sharing among different departments and bureaus. I think that the government need to consolidate data from different departments. We need to establish a one-stop platform. We have to streamline procedures, save times, lower administrative cost. We need to encourage frontline civil servants to come up with ways to improve data sharing mechanism. Lastly, I'd like to touch on this point, that is the monitoring and oversight of government outsourced service. I think that when we can outsource service, we should not outsource our oversight. Many frontline service, say for example, management of parks, wet market, INT, many of these services are outsourced. The government tend to focus on price and disregard quality. Last week, there was an incident involving a poor quality service offered by a outsourced service provider. I think that the government need to penalize underperforming contractors. When the service of the government outsourced contractor is lacking, people only blame the government. I think that the government need to reform the oversight and tender for outsourced service providers. The government should no longer just focus on price, but also service offered by the contractors. We have to improve the inspection mechanism for underperforming service providers. We need to blacklist them. We need to deduct their marks for their future tendering so that we make sure that the service offered by our contractors is up to par. The commitment, the mindset, the sense of responsibility of the civil service team lay the foundation for the government public service. I hope that we can have a mindset change in the civil service so that we can build a committed civil service team. This is how we can address different livelihood issues in Hong Kong so that we can continue to progress. Thank you. I hope that members will support my motion.
I now propose the question to you that the motion moved by Ms. Nixie LAM be passed. Mr. WU Yingpeng. Thank you, Deputy President. I would first like to declare an interest. I am an honorary consultant for the civil service officers of the association. I am glad Ms. Nixie LAM has proposed this motion to talk about how we can enhance governance efficiency of civil service to really implement what President Xi suggested about having a comprehensive incentivizing mechanism to reward meritorious individuals. And the National 15th Five-Year Plan explicitly says we need to enhance governance efficiency. The current time government has also been working hard to do things that are seen and enhance governance efficiency. As we move from stability to prosperity, people have greater expectations. We need to have a people-oriented, committed civil service team. And I'm glad the government has established the heads of department accountability system as well as a performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants to really implement reforms to the governance system. I think they have moved a key step forward. But with assessments, we need to have stringent, unified standards to accurately assess the performance of civil servants so that we can prevent those who are lazy and who do not perform well retained in the civil service hurting morale. I hope in future the government can also reward those who are performing well above their ranks, to encourage them to stay in the civil service. Right now, the civil service mainly relies on internal promotion, but with the senior civil servants, they need excellent cross-sectoral collaboration capabilities and forward-looking horizons. I hope that we can appropriately recruit senior positions from outside the civil service to create a healthy turnover in the civil service. And as those implementing policies, civil servants need to have awareness of the private sector operations as well as business management and industrial development, so that they can better identify pain points in policy implementation, so that they can tackle the root causes of the problems, so that we can truly have a capable government and an efficient market. We need to make sure civil servants have a better understanding of the private sector, and it is key to enhancing governance efficiency. I hope that different levels of civil servants can also work to support the heads of department accountability system and the performance appraisal enhancement scheme to enhance governance efficiency, to align with the National 15 5-year plan and the city's 5-year plan to better serve the city and the country. I hope that members will support my amendments. Mr. Chau Siu-chung. Thank you, Deputy President. With the current term government taking office, they have been working to enhance governance efficiency. They have asked for those who do not perform well to undergo mandatory retirement. We also had the heads of department accountability system. But there's always room for improvement. I want to talk about specifically how we can enhance training for civil servants, make good use of the human resources, and put in place a comprehensive mechanism for civil service. The Civil Service College last year launched a nurturing program of governance personnel to identify personnel with great potential. This has solved the issue of fragmentation of training resources. Right now, training courses mostly focus on values education, and the target group is mainly directorate and senior or mid-level personnel. It does not provide comprehensive training for different levels of civil servants. I hope the Civil Service College in future can do more to promote self-learning of civil servants. Let's refer to the example of Japan. They have the different bureaus and departments working with the qualities of civil servants and provide tailor-made training resources. The Civil Service College in Singapore has tiered courses, and the curricula are based on the ranks and different work areas of civil servants. I note that the Civil Service College in Hong Kong has provided to senior personnel continuous learning requirements. Apparently, there are 120 credits to be taken. I hope there are more skills-based training projects to enhance professional capabilities of civil servants. We are striving for zero increase in civil service establishment. So we have existing civil servants having to take up more work with the same number of people. We can rationalize the workflow and make good use of technology to lighten the workload on civil servants. But the administration has yet to provide specific data on the effectiveness of the relevant measures, and without objective data for monitoring, we can't really accurately assess improvement in efficiency. I understand the AI R&D Institute under Digital Policy Office will provide to government departments consulting services that would cover areas such as smart transformation and use of AI. I hope there can be some sort of tracking mechanism to track the progress of management measures implementation to make sure we are achieving the intended effect with the trimming down of a civil service, instead posing an excessive workload on existing civil servants. We want to make sure with the implementation of the performance appraisal systems, we need to reward those who perform well. We should also consider those who have years of experience and reach maximum points. They have worked for 10 odd years. They have become pillars in their respective grades. Without promotional prospects or increments, how can we make sure to maintain their morale so that they can be good work examples for other officers? I think the administration can provide targeted rewards for those who have performed consistently well to recognize their performance. I submit. I hope members will support my amendments. Mr. Cho-kwong, I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion. My amendment is very simple. I think we need to reform the rigid administrative culture, enhance governance efficiency of the civil service, and lay solid foundations for the city's first 5-year plan. Citizens have greater expectations of the civil service. We want the civil service to transition from passive management to being proactive, but with the rigid administrative culture, civil servants are hesitant to make breakthroughs. There is serious imbalance in rewards and punishments. With civil servants trying to make breakthroughs but fail, they are subject to harsh public scrutiny. They may have lost all prospects for promotion, and in fact, senior personnel often ask executing personnel to take their responsibilities on their behalf. So frontline officers often stick rigidly to the rules. Even if they have identified something wrong with policies, they just followed the policies because that is safe for them. This terrible culture is damaging the flexibility of the governance of the government, and it has really hurt public impression of the government. Often frontline officers are blamed, but senior personnel will do fine. Senior personnel are often not asked to be accountable for bad outcomes. We should have a mechanism that tolerates errors and sandbox arrangements to encourage breakthroughs. We should not allow for corruption to exist in the civil service. Senior personnel should take up responsibility instead of shifting the blame to frontline officers. We also need to make good use of digital transformation to break through the departmental barriers and data silos. Often, data silos among government departments has allowed departmental officers to really shift the blame to different other departments. We should have a transparent digital tracking system to see where there is a delay, perhaps with the processing of documents, so that there is no way for one to shift their responsibility. We also need to have drastic reforms in procurement. Right now, we do have some marks rewarded for technical criteria, but often price takes up a huge weighting, and often civil servants just cave to this twisted system, and the quality of outsourced services can really vary, especially for the INT enterprises. They are basically chased out of the market. We need to lower the weighting for quotation so that we can break the existing barriers. We need to have a responsible leader for a strong team. Otherwise, it will not change the rigid culture. If we do not have a civil service team that is willing to take responsibility and make breakthroughs, we will just be all talk. I hope the government can implement drastic reforms to enhance governance efficiency to meet public expectations. I so submit. Thank you, Deputy President.
Mr. Dennis LEUNG, Deputy President, I have to declare interest. Some of my family members are civil servants and they serve as consultant to some civil service unions. I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving the motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of civil service. I move my amendment to enrich the content of the motion. Civil servants is the backbone of the SAR government. They are key to the prosperity of Hong Kong, and so I support the reform of the civil service team. First, the civil servants must adhere to the 6 core principles of the CSC. They need to abide by the law. They have to be honest. They have to be clean, impartial, responsible, and hardworking. All these should be internalized in each and every civil servant. Second, the SAR government is determined in reforming the civil service system. I think that the government needs to step up improving the assessment and appraisal mechanism and build a people-oriented culture. I think that we need to plug the loophole. We need to encourage proactiveness among civil servants. But the system must be recognized by in-service civil servants. The assessment cycle, the increment, the appraiser mechanism must be consulted. Also, I think that the structures of the civil servants must be comparable to that of private market. Third, I think that the civil service college should offer more diversified courses so that we can see a fundamental change in the culture in the civil service. We need to ask civil servants to take examinations after undergoing courses. Apart from training leadership among civil servants, they need to enhance their execution capabilities and decision-making capabilities. We need to focus on duty visits. We have to allow more civil servants to take part in these visits to enhance their sense of nation and a governance perspective. We need to allow civil servants to go on attachment programs in the mainland and overseas so that they can learn from different places. Fourth, I think that the government needs to speed up digitalization of government services. On capability building, I think that the government needs to introduce advanced technology from various sectors and establish a AI efficacy enhancement team. The government needs to also train civil servants on their digital skills. We need to offer targeted training and a clear career path for their staff. On building culture, digitalization is the ultimate goal. For repetitive work, we need to hand them to automation devices so that resources can be spent on policy innovation and serving our people. We need to also let civil servants know that technology is just a tool. They need to focus on serving the people. Deputy President, enhancing the governance of the civil service involves this institutional and systemic change. I hope that the government will improve the appraisal system based on the 6 core principles and values of civil service code. We need to retain talents in the government. We need to give full play to the functions of civil service college. We should allow more civil service to take part in duty visits and attachment programs in the mainland or overseas. We also need to offer digital and technology training so that civil servants can serve the people better. Only by this can we further promote the efficacy of public service. And this is how the government can better implement and formulate our first 5-year plan to meet the aspirations of the people. I hope that members will support my movement. Also submit.
Secretary for the Civil Service. Deputy President, I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving this motion on enhancing the governance efficiency or efficacy of civil service, as well as 4 members for the amendments. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to this term of LegCo the work on enhancing the governance of civil service by this term of government. I'd also like to listen to members' views on enhancing the work efficiency and effectiveness of the civil service work. When delivering closing remarks, the Undersecretary for ITI and Undersecretary for Financial Services in the Treasury will also respond to points in relation to digitalization of public services, as well as stepping up monitoring of government outsourced services. As the backbone of the government's administration, the civil service is responsible for fully implementing one country, two systems, and the patriots administering Hong Kong. Our civil servants must do their utmost to work in unity, perform the duties with dedication, and fully support the chief executive in policy implementation. We must also keep pace with the times, deliver concrete results, and open a new chapter for high-quality development in Hong Kong. According to the IMD World Competitiveness Yearbook 2026 by IMD, in June this year, Hong Kong's global competitiveness ranking has risen to 2nd place worldwide. In particular, Hong Kong ranked 2nd in government efficiency for the 2nd consecutive year, which is a strong recognition of the SAR government and the civil service. This term of government is committed to reforming the governance system, strengthening governance effectiveness, and establishing the result-oriented governance. This is how we make a shift of culture. In the first 4 years of this term, we updated the Civil Service Code, we elucidated the constitutional order of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, the constitutional role and responsibilities of civil servants as members of the executive, the 12 core values that the civil service must uphold collectively. We've also established the government-wide mobilization mechanism to enhance the government's responsiveness. We've strengthened the civil service management system, emphasizing rewards and penalties. We've introduced the Chief Executive's Award for exemplary performance and relaxed the criteria for Secretary for the Civil Service Commendation Award scheme. At the same time, we've also streamlined the mechanism for retiring officers with persistently unsatisfactory performance. We've enhanced the civil service disciplinary mechanism. All these policies have been fully implemented and have achieved the expected results. We will continue with our efforts to maintain a civil service with a strong sense of mission and proactiveness to strengthen their capability as an ongoing task. In recent years, technological development has swept across the globe, with AI and big data being widely applied, and with rapid development of our country and the Greater Bay Area, public expectations for government services have also increased. Against this backdrop, the government must continuously enhance governance effectiveness to deliver public services more precisely and efficiently and respond to the needs of our society. On the 15th of June, the government launched a 2-month public consultation on Hong Kong's first 5-year plan. It carries significant historical importance. We need a civil service team that is capable of getting things done and deliver results, who are willing to take responsibility and who can make things happen. In the past few years, we have begun to implement reforms in the following areas. First, strengthening civil servants' sense of responsibility and accountability. The Chief Executive proposed in the 2025 policy address the establishment of the Heads of Department Accountability System and the related 2-tier investigation mechanism. By clearly defining and institutionalizing accountability of heads of departments for their work, The system seeks to enhance administrative accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency of the department. The two-tier investigation mechanism will be established with the Civil Service Commission investigation regulation coming into effect on the 17th of July. Second area, enhancing performance accountability of civil servants. Enhancing the appraisal mechanism of civil service is one of the key measures under the Further Enhanced Governance in the Chief Executive's Policy Address 2025. The aim is to ensure that performance appraisals more effectively reflect and differentiate the performance of civil servants and assist heads of departments in building effective management and continuously improving overall governance effectiveness. For participating grades, this mechanism will be implemented starting from the appraisal cycle commencing on or after the 1st of October. This is the guided distribution mechanism, and the Civil Service Bureau will supervise the overall effectiveness. The third area is optimizing civil service manpower and application of technology to improve work efficiency. The Civil Service Bureau has been encouraging departments to reorganize work modes, reprioritize tasks, make use of technology, and streamline procedures to better deploy manpower resources. In recent years, departments have actively leveraged various technologies, including AI, to enhance operational efficiency and service quality, and also to deliver public services more effectively and allocate manpower to areas of greatest need so as to directly reduce manpower requirements. The fourth area is deepening civil service training. Through the Civil Service College, we have continued to provide diversified training to foster the culture of people-oriented and one government mindset. We also enhance civil servants' understanding of national strategies and broaden their macro perspective. In 2025, the college launched the Governance Talent Development Program to nurture committed governance talents. We organized proactive leadership experience sharing sessions for heads of departments to enhance leadership and departmental management capabilities. In July 2026, the college also launched the Civil Servants Continuous Learning Program. Officers at designated ranks or above are required to complete specified credits in key learning areas each year, thereby fostering a culture of continuous learning within the civil service. Beyond classroom training, starting from 2023, we have launched the Civil Service Exchange Program in collaboration with mainland cities in the Greater Bay Area and 5 other mainland cities. Hong Kong civil servants are arranged to work in mainland civil service posts for a period of time. Likewise, mainland civil servants would follow the same arrangement in Hong Kong. We've also participated in the UN Junior Professional Officer Program. Young civil servants are seconded to the UN headquarters and various offices for about 2 years so as to enrich their experience in participating in international affairs. In response to member suggestions on expediting digitalization and smart development and also strengthening monitoring of government outsourcing services, I'd like to provide a response here. The following response incorporates the policies and work of the ITIB as well as the FSTB. On expediting e-government, we have been actively promoting e-government and smart development so as to enhance efficiency of public services and administrative processes. We also strive to optimize e-service platforms and operating systems so as to achieve one portal for government services. We adopt a two-track approach. On the one hand, we provide cloud platforms, data infrastructure, and AI tools to support departments in re-engineering workflows and fostering innovations through AI. On the other hand, we also provide continuous and tiered training to enhance civil servants' understanding, application, and management of technology. We also encourage knowledge transfer among government departments so as to nurture tech talents. On outsourcing, the government departments have all along engaged other organizations to provide public services through outsourcing, which help maintain a relatively small and efficient establishment of the civil service. It also enables flexible responses to public service needs. Based on the department's needs, they may formulate appropriate tendering, procurement strategies and terms according to the needs in order to acquire the services. We understand the importance We will closely monitor the contractors' performance. If they are not up to standard, we will take follow-up actions to ensure that interests of the government and the public are safeguarded. The Undersecretary for ITI and the Undersecretary for FST and myself will respond later after listening carefully to members' comments and views. Thank you, President.
Mr. Chris Yip. President, I'd like to first declare that my wife is a police officer. She is one of the 100,000 civil servants. As a family member of a civil servant, I witness the hard work of the civil servants every day, how they serve the people wholeheartedly. As a result, in the 2026 Competitiveness Yearbook, Hong Kong's government's efficiency ranked second in the world. This is thanks to the hard work of the 100,000 civil servants. For this, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the civil servants in Hong Kong. It's the mission and responsibility of civil servants to provide high-quality public service to the people. SAR government, as the manager of civil servants, need to update the management system of civil servants and to enhance the efficacy of public service. I think that's necessary. The government implemented the head of department's accountability system and implementing a two-tier standing investigation mechanism. The government also rolled out this performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants. I think that all these will help enhance the governance efficacy of civil service. I support them. As the times change, we need to enhance the civil servants to better offer service to the people. As we are in a digital era, how can we enhance civil servants' understanding of artificial intelligence so that we can offer digital government service to the people? I think that's the job of the government. Recently, I participated in the scrutiny work of the regulation of online ride-hailing service. Many members and I found that many licenses granted to online ride-hailing vehicles will be issued in paper. In the digital era, I found it surprising that the administration is still issuing physical licenses or permits, and I think that will delay the efficiency of granting licenses. I think that the government need to take this opportunity to promote the use of I Am Smart and Business ID, as well as other digital government platforms. We need to make the government platforms more convenient so that we can offer higher quality digital government services to the people. At the same time, we need to, as soon as possible, phase out using papers to handle government service to enhance efficiency and reduce administrative costs. This is just one of the example. I think that the government can make use of technology to enhance governance efficacy. I'm glad to hear from the secretaries that they want to promote one portal for government service. I hope that by digitalization, we can make government service more efficient. In order to seize the opportunities posed to us under the 15th five-year plan, apart from formulating our own five-year plan, we need to enhance our collaboration and exchanges with other cities in the Greater Bay Area. As a result, the government needs to establish a regular exchange mechanism between civil servants in Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland. We need to extend the exchange mechanism from the senior management to middle tier to front tier. It should cover governance, engineering, planning, environmental protection, so on and so forth. At the same time, we need to enhance national education and training on and strengthening the sense of national identity. We need to teach our civil servants about national affairs policies in the Greater Bay Area. We also need to enhance the Putonghua skills of our staff so that we can build a team of civil servants that is passionate about our country and is conversant in national affairs so that we can seize the opportunities posed to us by national development. Lastly, I believe that the 100,000 odd civil servants are passionate about serving the people. As long as the government can listen to the people, I believe that they can enhance the governance efficacy in providing better service to the people. I support the original motion moved by Ms. Nixie LAM and the other amendments. Mr. Tang Fei. President, I have to declare interest. Some of my family members are civil servants. I am a consultant to a civil service union too. Ms. Nixie LAM moved this motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of civil service. As we are going from stability to prosperity, the challenge faced by us is no longer about whether there is policy, but about whether we can implement the policies well. Now, the chief executive is formulating our own 5-year plan to dovetail with the national 15 5-year plan. I think that this is a project about an innovation of system and institution. Apart from formulating a roadmap, we need to rely on the civil servants in implementing the policy set out in the 5-year plan. I have a few suggestions. Hopefully, the government will take them on board so that we can enhance the governance efficacy of civil service. First, we need to enhance the management skills of the head of department. Many civil servants in Hong Kong are professional. They are conversant with procedures. These are their advantages. But given rapid changes in society, the civil servants need to adapt this mindset change. They need to no longer be a night watchman. These were the thing in the past. We are no longer adopting this laissez-faire policy of a small government and big market. So the civil servants need to go from being a night watchman to becoming a facilitator of societal changes and economic development. Civil servants should no longer be just addressing complaints or executing procedures. We need to consolidate different departments so that they can coordinate with each other and implementing the policies. So we need to instill a mindset change in the heads of departments. That's my first point. Second, we need to establish a fault toleration mechanism. I think that we need to encourage civil servants, especially heads of departments, be more innovative. This is how our society can progress. This is how our society or economy can develop. We should not just blame heads of departments that make mistakes for good intent. I think that we can learn from the mainland. They have a civil service fault toleration system. They include that in their appraisal system. I think that we can make reference to that. Our leaders have an article on how to build the right values, and I think that we can read it. So we should no longer rely on the number of meetings convened, the number of plans formulated to assess the performance of the civil servants. We need to look at whether the allocation of resources is more efficient, is the waiting time for public service shorter, are more disadvantaged group benefited. This is how we should assess the performance of the civil servants. We need to encourage innovation in our institutions, and for us to achieve that, we need to tolerate fault. Third, when we want to be innovative about institutions, we should bear the relevant risk and consequences. The former director of the Invest Hong Kong were faced with a disciplinary action because of the Victoria Harbour celebrity show. and the relevant department were fined because of a judicial review. So I think that we need to have a clear delineation of responsibility. When the government implement this heads of department accountability system, they need to guard against challenges posed by judicial review. So these are my 3 suggestions. Thank you. I support the motion of Ms. Nixie LAM and all the amendments.
Ms. Jenny Man. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and all other members' amendments. To enhance governance efficiency, we must take the perspectives of the country's development and public administration. To realize the great vision, it is about setting up a efficient and responsible governance team. If we practice the non-interventionist approach, it cannot really break the persistent barriers in society. We need to enhance governance efficiency by implementing reforms as well as build capacity. In 1998, the mainland already set up an assessment framework that assesses different values, and it also provides for a mechanism that can promote those who are performing well and demote those who are not performing well. The civil service performance appraisal system in Hong Kong has worked, but then because there is no regular posting arrangement, people would have stale performance after a certain period of time. We should have a performance appraisal system that would reward those who are performing well. We need to enhance accountability. The appraisal enhancement scheme is the first step, but when we have cross-departmental collaboration, there is no clear delineation of responsibility. So often people would just think it's the other department's work, and we have seen this demonstrated during the Wangfu Court fire hearings. I very much support the chief executive in setting up a heads of department accountability system and the 2-tiered investigation mechanism. We need to make sure we hold those accountable for neglect or even those who are performing maliciously. I suggest that the administration introduce more objective performance indicators. For example, we should have an objective indicator for the digitalization of government's work, reward those who perform well, and we should deal with those who have performed not so well consistently. We need to make good use of the public resources. We also need to build the capacities of civil servants. I appreciate the administration is promoting data sharing among departments and encouraging civil servants to make good use of technology and removing the specific administrative barriers. I hope in future we can take the citizens' perspective so that for service pledges, we not only talk about shortening processing time, but talk about how many cases we have dealt with, the civil service has dealt with successfully. We should also organize more exchange activities between mid to senior level civil servants with other officials in GBA mainland cities, as well as Macau and other mainland cities. We also need to promote cross-departmental collaboration and emergency response. We can do so with continuous training and drills. For the first 5-year plan of the city, we need to make sure to include content on providing training on the Constitution, basic law, and general values in national security to make sure we have the civil service being an ally in governance. Thank you. Mr. Tommy Chung, I speak in support of Ms. Nixie LAM's motion. This motion is directly relevant to the effective implementation of the city's first 5-year plan, including the development of Northern Metropolis as well as emerging markets. It is key to enhancing international competitiveness of the city. We need to enhance the management of senior and mid-level personnel as well as the whole civil service. We need to have a dynamic performance appraisal system for mid to senior level personnel and make sure we have indicators tie in with important work we are doing for the city's 5-year plan, including tapping into emerging markets and implementing trade policies. We need to reward those who perform well and punish those who don't, to really hold civil servants accountable. And as Mr. Tang Fei said, we should have a fault-tolerant mechanism to encourage innovation so that civil servants won't be afraid of making mistakes. This should allow senior personnel to be more ambitious and efficient implementation by the frontline officers. The Public Service Commission would have a fair perspective in investigating wrongdoings mid to senior level public officers, and we should consider publicizing the relevant investigation findings for public transparency. We should also have an open recruitment mechanism to introduce talents with relevant professional backgrounds or experience in developing emerging markets in the civil service. We should make good use of AI to enhance governance efficiency. We should provide AI training to frontline civil servants so that they can really make use of the technology to enhance workflow in, say, tapping into the emerging markets as well as rationalizing trade data and supporting the coordination of different Northern Metropolis projects. We also need to improve on the outsourced monitoring mechanism. We need to make sure the quality of outsourced services meet the requirements under the city's 5-year plan. We should have industry or sector representatives take part in supervision. We can have joint assessment panels formed, and we should make dynamic adjustments for contractors who have not performed well. Management of contractors is also how we can demonstrate effective governance efficiency. Enhancing governance efficiency is responding to the public's expectations of the city's 5-year plan. I urge the administration to implement my suggestions so that the civil service will be more than willing to make breakthroughs in the development of Northern Metropolis and tapping of the emerging markets. I so submit speaking in support of Ms. Nixie LAM's original motion and other members' amendments. Thank you. Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, President. President Xi, in celebrating the 105th anniversary of the establishment of the Chinese Communist Party, made a speech in particular talking about enhancing governance efficiency of the civil service of Hong Kong. And efficiency of civil service is highly relevant to the welfare of citizens as well as development of society and the economy. The establishment of the heads of department accountability system and other measures are just the first step. We do rank high in terms of governance efficiency in different indices. We also rank high in terms of integrity, but there's always room for improvement, and there is room for us to really keep abreast with the times. I will take a more macro perspective in my suggestions on what to do. First, civil servants should have an innovative mindset. Civil servants and administrative officers in particular have excellent language and public administrative abilities, but they err on the side of prudence. Despite their good performance, they may not be willing to innovate, and they do have regular posting. I think the intent of the arrangement is good, but for officers only working in the positions for several years and then they have to move to another position, it is hard for them to really go in deep with such work. Many statutory bodies have good ties with sectors. I think government departments can be more flexible in making use of the advantages of statutory bodies. So we have not been able to create synergy with such close ties. I think we can embrace technology and have a digital government system. I hope the administration will streamline and rationalize relevant workflows, enhance digitalization, remove unnecessary or repeated processes to enhance governance efficiency, and lower the business costs of enterprises and provide greater convenience. If there are some technical difficulties, we can really make good use of the strengths of the R&D institutions to help with that. We should also make good use of the functions of statutory bodies. There is more flexibility with the personnel management of statutory bodies. For projects that require flexibility, we should be bold and let these organizations execute these projects that should reduce the pressure on the civil service. We should also have a more extensive mechanism of posting officers to overseas. We have in different places, they would post officers to different organizations locally and overseas. I think Hong Kong can practice the same approach because with this arrangement, it would allow the officers to deepen ties with their specific professional sectors and stakeholders so that they know better what is going on in different sectors and they can really tap into the pulse of the public and society. The country has often emphasized the need to deepen reforms, and with reforms, they should be updated and it should be about self-improvement. It should not be regarded as something negative. It is about how we can enhance governance efficiency in rapidly changing circumstances to make contributions to the high-quality development of the country. Thank you.
Mr. Andrew Fan. Thank you, President. I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving today's motion. The civil service is the core of good governance in Hong Kong. The efficiency of civil service directly affects the quality of life of our people as well as the long-term development in Hong Kong. I think that for civil servants, they must adopt a people-oriented mindset. They must be committed to their work. And we also need hardware support, and that means government digital infrastructure. Now, I have two suggestions on this front. I hope that the civil servants will continue to enhance governance. First, the government must first break the data barrier among government departments. There should be greater efforts in data connectivity among government departments so that for better delivery of public services. There is a very clear delineation of work among government departments, but then there may be data silos, and that on livelihood issues there may be a vacuum in the delivery of public services. This is an issue of concern of society. In recent years, the government has made an effort. For example, with the Digital Policy Office as the coordinator at the top level, the consented data exchange gateway has been set up, and there is also a standard or uniform protocol for sharing of data among government departments. to promote e-government. The Social Welfare Department earlier worked with the Housing Society and the HA, and that a trial platform has been set up to collate the data in relation to social services and hospital admission records so as to proactively identify elderly singletons as well as elderly households, greater risk groups such as those with disabled carers, and that the government can now adopt a more proactive approach in early identification and early intervention. This can help improve people's livelihood and meet their needs. I hope that the scope of data connectivity can be further expanded. On the premise of safeguarding personal data privacy, more livelihood-related scenarios should be developed in terms of social welfare, housing, healthcare, so that data can be connected to meet the service gaps. My other suggestion is to optimize the use of big data and AI. We should make sure that overall governance is visionary. In terms of government operation, the data forms a very valuable asset. When it comes to digitizing government services, we always talk about streamlining workflow and enhancing efficiency. But the value of big data analytics and AI is that they can help the government spot errors and inadequacies and address blind spots. Take 1823 as an example. The government has introduced a speech recognition technology. But if we go further, such as leveraging AI to conduct in-depth case analysis, we can generate greater value. For example, by making use of big data and AI, we can find out similar cases, and we can also analyze the feature and distribution of cases so as to identify blind spots or gray areas at the policy level. That way, we can promote the relevant government departments to improve policies. And we can also promote the use of big data in areas such as building management, social services, and other livelihood areas, so that taking a scientific approach, we can reallocate resources and enhance efficiency of public services. Now, when it comes to doing the job well, we need to have the tools as a prerequisite. So we need to improve the performance appraisal mechanism so that there is a carrot and stick approach. We can motivate civil servants to do better. We should also improve digital infrastructure, make good use of technology. Only when there is hardware and there is software will we be able to further enhance government operations and deliver public services in a more precise manner. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Chan Pak-chi. President, civil service forms the core of the governance. It is crucial for the government to respond to the public aspirations, social needs, and sustain the city's development. The governance efficiency determines the development pace. According to the IMD Competitiveness Report in 2026, in terms of government efficiency, Hong Kong ranks as second. That shows how excellent our civil service is. Of course, there is always more to be desired. Against the backdrop of rapid social development and digitalization, there is room for further improvement. President, the SAR government has set up a robust civil service mechanism. Over the years, we've laid a solid foundation for the delivery of quality public services to meet people's livelihood needs. However, we still need to review the situation on a continuous basis to look for room for improvement. We must tap the powers of society and expedite the implementation of policies to enhance people's sense of happiness. The government should keep up with the times. And further improve the civil service system. In fact, in recent years, the government has taken forward active reform of the civil service governance. In the 2025 policy address, the Chief Executive proposed a head of department accountability system. There is also a new system, the Performance Appraisal Enhancement Scheme for civil servants with a 6-point overall performance rating scale, as well as the guided distribution mechanism. They will be implemented in due course. That way, we can differentiate those who excel and those who don't. I think we must instill in civil servants a stronger sense of mission. We must also train them in terms of strategic thinking so that they can actively dovetail with the National 5-Year Plan and Hong Kong's first 5-year plan, so that they can think out of the box and be innovative. Now, in terms of government's efficiency, departments should focus on promoting economic development and enhancing cost effectiveness. There should also be AI-driven tendering monitoring system to address the issue of bid rigging and corruption in procurement. On talent development, I suggest enhancing AI training for civil servants so that we can help civil servants adapt and transform their operations and take forward e-government. We should also regularize the exchange mechanism with mainland civil servants. The scope of exchange should be extended from senior ranks to middle and junior ranks so that we can enhance the knowledge of our country among civil servants. And that we should also further improve the various award schemes for civil servants so as to build a proactive culture. I also suggest providing family-friendly work environment for civil servants. We should also recruit younger people to join the civil service so as to inject new impetus. President, we're not rejecting the contribution made by civil servants by suggesting we should further enhance governance efficiency of civil service. Rather, we are striving for excellence. The original motion lays down the direction for reform, and that the government's direction of reform highly tallies with the suggestions of the DAB. I believe if we take steady steps in implementing these measures, we'll be able to build a highly efficient and proactive and committed civil service so as to support the long-term quality development of Hong Kong and respond to the long-term aspirations of the public. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Jonathan Lau. President, the civil servants form the core of the governance, and their attitude, the attitude and the efficiency also affects people's livelihood and the long-term development of society. The Liberal Party supports the government in taking forward reforms. In fact, a number of interdepartmental groups have been set up. For example, the Chief Secretary for Administration chairs a group on district governance. There is also another steering committee led by the Deputy Chief Secretary on district governance, and that we're able to break new grounds. Various problems have been addressed in a very expeditious manner with apparent results. Still, when it comes to the civil service, there is still this culture of working in silos and risk aversion. This is apparent, especially for the middle and junior ranks. Many members of the public have complained against the malpractices, and very often civil servants are reluctant to follow up on the complaints. These complaints are not referred for further investigation. They would make up excuses, and that the complainant will have to visit various departments in order to pursue the matter. This hampers public confidence in civil service. In fact, a few years ago, as a district councillor, I came across this case. There was an abandoned car near a hospital. I approached different government departments. I told the police, and that the police said that the abandoned vehicle did not have any engine, did not have any registration mark. And then I turned to the transport department. The transport department said it's out of their ambit because the vehicle didn't come with wheels. Then for the lands department, they said apparently this is a vehicle and it's not under their purview. So they're passing the buck. I think there is a need to reform in order to address people's pressing needs. The Liberal Party agrees that the performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants should be implemented so as to differentiate those who perform well and those who don't. But it takes more than the scheme to change the mindset. We need civil servants to have a sense of commitment. They need to have a change of mindset. They need to think for the people and act for the people. They need to have a sense of responsibility and be willing to walk the extra mile to help the public. They must not pass the buck to each other when in face of public complaints. When it comes to emergencies and complaints from the community, they should be vigilant. They should also be pragmatic to avoid the problem from repeating so that you can salvage public confidence. The Liberal Party suggests that the government make better use of technologies. Government departments should share data on a common platform. For high-risk areas, when complaints are received, even if it doesn't come under the ambit of a government department, it should be referred to another department on a mandatory basis so that somebody at the supervisory level can make use of digital tools to oversee this complaint to ensure that there is transparency and accountability. Members of the public should be able to check the progress of handling of the complaint. When people are happy with the public services, they will have confidence in the government. I hope that the government will take forward this bold reform and be proactive so that we have an excellent civil service to enhance governance in Hong Kong. I submit the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Rock Chen, President. The 15th Five-Year Plan stipulates ensuring more effective governance of Hong Kong in accordance with the law. Hong Kong is going from stability to prosperity. The efficacy of civil service must be enhanced to meet the long-term aspirations of the people for the government. So I speak in support of Ms. Nixie LAM motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of civil service. I have the following suggestions. First, we need to make use of technology to enhance efficacy of civil servants. The government established the AI Efficacy Enhancement Scheme, rolling out 100 tools. I think that the government needs to encourage digitalization among different departments. We need to encourage government departments and bureaus to make use of artificial intelligence to analyze their data, to identify issue. We need to also make use of information technology platform to refer cases for follow-up with different departments. Second, we need to establish this performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil service by rolling out this guided distribution mechanism to phase out substandard civil servants. For outperforming civil servants, the government need to reward them. We may promote them earlier or offer a few more increment points to them. By having a reward and penalty mechanism, we can change the mindset of the civil servants who are more risk aversion so that those who are able can be rewarded and those who underperform will be penalized. Third, we need to enhance our training mechanism. Civil servants need to have a better understanding of how the private market works. They need to know more about industry development and national strategies. Civil servants need to have a heightened sense of business and international perspective. In terms of training structure, I think that we should adopt a three-tiered approach. At the junior and mid-tier civil servants, they should be receiving training at Civil Service College. Through professional business analysis and industry research courses, we can enhance a civil servant's decision-making capability. For senior management, they should go to the National Administrative College on the mainland to receive training. They should visit the mainland to enhance their understanding of national strategies. We should also allow more civil servants to receive training in the mainland and other countries so that they know more about the business opportunities in other places. This is how we can build a team of civil servants with strategic thinking and creativity. And this is how we can make sure that as we implement the 5-year plan, we have a team of civil servants that have international perspective. As so submit, I support the original motion and all the amendments. Mr. Kenneth Falk. President Xi, on the 25th anniversary of our unification, said that the Hong Kong government need to enhance the governance efficacy. In the National 15th Five-Year Plan on the chapter about Hong Kong, it stipulates that we need to ensure a more effective governance of Hong Kong in accordance with the law. I think that this shows the government's expectations for governance efficacy of Hong Kong. After implementing Patriot administrating Hong Kong and administrative-led approach, this request to enhance governance efficacy is reasonable. And I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving this motion. This comes in timely. This term of the government have rolled out a number of measures to enhance governance efficacy. I thank this term of the government for having this courage to conduct such a reform. Many of the suggestions were proposed by G19 in the last term of the LegCo, including establishing a KPI for departments, for example, establishing a collaboration mechanism across departments and bureaus, by establishing and reforming the performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants, by retiring underperforming civil servants, so on and so forth. One of the suggestions of ours have yet to be implemented. We need to reform the increment point and appraisal mechanism of civil servants. I'm glad to see that the Civil Service Bureau have announced a series of measures for this. As I wrote in my article on the newspapers, I think that the relevant reform is not to save money for government or penalize the civil service team. I believe that our civil service team is very efficient. But coming back to the intent of having this increment point, it should be tied to the performance. Only those performance who's up to standard can enjoy such increment point. For those who underperform, for those that are inefficient, they should not enjoy the increment point. They should not get a A-grade appraisal report. And this principle has support for most taxpayers and most members of the public. The government have announced the proposal. The key lies with implementation and execution. In the civil servants team, many of them have come up with ways to circumvent the schemes. For the 5 to 10% performance rating, they will be assigned to those who have reached the maximum point, because they may not be able to be promoted. And if we assign those officers with rating level 5, then everyone can still enjoy the increment point. For outperforming civil servants, their superiors would often give them a poor rating on their appraisal report so as to delay the promotion so that they can stay in the department to help them. I think that this is unfair, because for underperforming civil servants, sometimes their superiors will give them a good rating so that they will be posted to some other departments. I think that the government need to pay attention to these behavior. I hope that this will not become commonplace, but we need to guard against them. Some civil servants question about the proposal. It seems that it's only about penalizing civil servants. I think that there should be reward for outperforming civil servants too. We proposed actually a 3-tier system. For underperforming ones, they should not enjoy increment point. For those who give excellent performance, they should enjoy non-cash bonus, for example. I think that the government should consider this. Overall speaking, I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and the other amendments. I so submit.
Mr. Scott LEUNG. Thank you, President. In recent years, the government has been proactively implementing the results-oriented governance philosophy. As a member from the geographical constituency in dealing with cases, I could feel how hard government officials are working. Government officials are able to respond to complaints and inquiries swiftly. Now, at the subcommittee meeting on Buildings Ordinance Amendments, we have been scrutinizing the regulations on elderly-friendly building design. Now, concerning the question on anti-slip floor surface, government officials brought along some samples of anti-slip floor tiles for members' reference. We commend these efforts. However, there is still a widespread skepticism on the civil service. In particular, there are media programs reporting issues encountered by the members of the public when dealing with government departments. Now, the inertia in delivery of civil service highlights the insufficiencies in some government officials. The lack of response and sensitivity resulting in bad results. Now, for example, in a case of student suicide because of bullying, parents and students complain that the school has been dealing with the case in an underhanded manner. Now, over the past several years, the Education Bureau has received some 70 school bullying cases. However, only 15 were substantiated. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg, considering the number of students we have in Hong Kong. It seems that the government is relying too much on voluntary reporting from schools. Government officials have failed to intervene and investigate the matter, so it is questionable whether the mechanism is sufficient in safeguarding the students. Now, the government has a zero-tolerance stance on school bullying. However, the attitude adopted by some government officials would directly affect the public's perceptive. So I think we need to establish a more proactive mechanism for governments to intervene in the early stage of the incident to address concerns and to offer unified response. So I support using AI to break down the information barriers between departments and streamline the workflow. Take school bullying as an example. If departments can make use of the data to screen out students who are constantly absent and risk, then the Education Bureau and the Social Welfare Department can intervene to provide counseling and advice to prevent tragedies from happening. I agree with the motion that we need to have a fair system to commend good performance and punish underperformers. Now, I know many parents have been anxious over the scandal of the wrong message on school place allocation. There is no punishment after the incident. This is a territory-wide scandal, but I don't think our existing system has sufficient tools to punish those who have malperformed. We need to have a mechanism to commend the well-performers and also hold those responsible to account. That's how we can enhance the overall governance and public confidence. The civil service efficiency directly impacts upon the government's ability to rise up to public expectation. I hope that under a fair and transparent system, the civil service can continuously enhance its efficiency and implements the results-oriented philosophy. I so submit. Thank you.
Mr. Ronick Chen. Thank you, President. The civil service is the backbone of our governance. It plays an important role in ensuring the long-term stability and prosperity of Hong Kong. It has everything to do with the well-being of the public. I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving this motion. We need to enhance public service quality by way of internal reforms and the introduction of new technologies. I support the amendments. Last month, the government proposed enhancement measures in relation to performance mechanism. I completely support the work of the government to make enhancements in relation to the performance mechanisms and so on. This practice is actually very common in commercial organizations. This will incentivize the civil service in Hong Kong. I have drawn reference from the commercial sector. Appraisal results need to be factored in promotion. Those obtaining level 4, 5, 6 should not be able to get promoted. At the same time, we need to maintain the ratio of staff members getting levels 1 and 2. Flexibility should be allowed according to the situation of the department. This is to prevent any hard and fast rule being applied to departments that should be granted exemptions. LCSD, FEHD, the police force, they have frequent communication with the public. Their service quality directly impacts on the perception of the public and whether the public is satisfied with the government. We need to consolidate the complaints received from the public against these departments. I believe this will help the civil service to train staff members who will be role models. As Mr. Chen Cho-kwong just now mentioned, in order to encourage an innovative spirit, we need to allow civil servants to make mistakes, and we need to implement a fault-tolerant system. We need to allow civil servants to make mistakes when it comes to non-critical mistakes. We need to help civil servants to get rid of the mentality of doing less to earn less. Team spirit directly affects the passion of staff members. We need to enhance the sense of belonging among civil servants. We can make props which can be displayed in the office of civil servants. There should also be exchange sessions straddling different levels of civil servants. The government should consider setting up working groups and teams to enhance the working atmosphere. I Am Smart is a remarkable achievement of digitalized governance and public services. We already have a centralized platform of communications. In Futian, Shenzhen, they have a total of 70 AI staff members. They cover different tasks such as pen-pushing tasks as well as services enjoyed by the public. They make sure that AI staff members do not take part in decision-making. Decisions made by AI will be verified by staff members before they are implemented. The government has mature system and infrastructure. I suggest that the government make frequent exchanges with our neighboring regions so that we can formulate better AI proposals. We rely on every single one within the civil service to strive for improvements. Civil servants need to be good role models to guide Hong Kong towards long-term stability and prosperity. Thank you. Professor Chan Wen-kong. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Ms. Nixie Lam's motion on enhancing the governance efficiency of the civil service. We take pride in a highly professional, efficient, effective, clean civil service. They provide public services across different aspects. They form the backbone of the governance in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is prosperous today thanks to the long-term dedication and devotion of the civil service. This year marks the start of the 15th five-year plan of our country. We are drawing up the first five-year plan of Hong Kong full steam ahead. This will lay a solid foundation for the future development of Hong Kong. That's why we need a highly professional team of civil servants who have a great sense of responsibility in order to promote societal development. This will allow us to better serve our country and integrate into our national development. Ms. Nixie Lam's motion is moved at the right time. How can we enhance the governance efficacy of the civil service? I especially agree with the fact that the motion mentions we need to be proactive. We have KPIs and we also have the head of department accountability system. There are also enhancements to be made to the performance appraisal mechanism. And this will change the mentality of civil servants of doing less to earn less and doing nothing to earn never. This will help civil servants to avoid passing the buck. The Taipo fire last year is an example. A total of 8,000 civil servants were mobilized to take part in post-relief efforts. This shows that the government is responsible, is courageous, and so on. And we are ushering in a new chapter at full speed. We need to implement policies with great precision. We also need to foster an atmosphere of responsibility among civil servants. In addition to a sense of responsibility, I believe that civil servants need to stay attuned to the needs of the public. They need to meet public aspirations, whereas some do not think that they are directly related. I believe this forms the backbone of our governance. A civil servant joins the government. Well, I mean, if a civil servant joins the government just because of personal gains, I don't believe that there will be outstanding performance. I hope that civil servants will remember that they need to continue to stay attuned to public aspirations. That is why I also agree with the amendment moved by Mr. Dennis Leung. There should be more duty visits, training courses, and attachment programs in the Chinese mainland and overseas. In the Chinese mainland, there are a lot of policies from which we should draw reference, such as poverty alleviation, city management, and so on. In addition to professional skills, we also need to learn from the Chinese mainland. Party members and civil servants in the Chinese mainland devote themselves selflessly to serving the public. We need to adopt a people-centric culture to enhance the sense of happiness and gain among members of the public in Hong Kong. I also think that we need to make good use of AI to expedite the implementation of digitalized government services. We need to streamline procedures and remove red tape with the help of technologies, so the members of the public will feel the convenience brought by technologies. Thank you. I so submit. Thank you, President. Mr. Lam Chun-sing. Thank you, President. There are a lot of new policies and measures. I support them. However, there are great doubts in relation to the performance appraisal mechanism. In the past, civil servants who were not granted any salary increment were few and far between. In a 6-level mechanism, for those being awarded levels 1, 2, 3, they will be given salary increments owing to their satisfactory performance. Not less than 50% of civil servants could be awarded level 3 or above with no cap. In fact, if the management does it well in terms of management, supervision, and training, even if the performance requirements and criteria become stricter, it is actually not impossible for the entirety of the civil service to get levels 1 to 3. However, there is a criterion by the administration that at least 5% of civil servants need to be given levels 4 to 6, which means only 95% of the staff members will get a salary increment. The administration said that this does not mean that there would definitely be some staff members who will not be given salary increments. However, the administration also stresses that only under very exceptional circumstances that exemptions will be granted. Some management staff members may want to avoid trouble. They may also be under stress. They may be worried that if they cannot meet the headcount exercise, that they will be considered having management issues. Civil servants want to make sure that they will not fall into the category of the 5% at the bottom. Does the government want to promote a culture of being proactive? Or does the administration want to encourage negative competition, vicious competition? This policy might be well intended, but the administration needs to make sure that there won't be any drawbacks that eclipse their benefits. We are only 3 months away from the launch of the policy. I believe that the administration needs to enhance the level of openness and transparency of the enhanced mechanism. This will enhance the confidence of civil servants when it comes to the new mechanism. I have 2 suggestions. 1, in the grade descriptions, the head of grade needs to provide concrete descriptions of different grades: conduct, attitude, performance. We need concrete criteria so that staff members will know how to meet level 3 or above. This will help appraisers to make objective assessments. This will also allow appraisees to have a better grasp of the official requirements. Second, the enhanced assessment criteria together with the appeal mechanism details, such as the composition of the appeal panel and a performance pledge when it comes to time. All these pieces of information should be incorporated into a booklet. This will allow civil servants to know how to achieve this goal, and they will also have a way to protect their interests and rights. There should be sufficient manpower to examine each and every appeal case in an objective manner. We need to incentivize civil servants in a reasonable manner so that we can continue to rank high when it comes to government efficiency all around the world. I also support the amendments. Thank you.
Mr. Brave Chen. Thank you, Madam President. I also thank the officials joining us. We are grateful for Ms. Nixie LAM's motion, and also we thank Mr. WU Yingpeng, Mr. CHAU Siu-chung, Mr. Cho-kwong, and Mr. Dennis Leung for their amendment. I want to speak on modernizing the governance institutions and also digitizing public services. News stories are all about our country's focus on improving the capability of the civil servants. This year marks the 105th anniversary of the Communist Party of China. A century ago, our country was backward. We suffered at the hands of other powers. Now people's lives have improved. That's because our country has put improving people's lot first. And this year, the party has also started campaigns to establish norms about achievements. So the focus is on delivering on people's well-being. Pragmatism and a methodological approach are also part of the focus. The chief executive also calls for better governance and a better civil service. The current government has the public support. It takes a result-oriented approach. We now have a heads of department accountability system. There is also an AI efficacy enhancement team. We can all see the results. There's I Am Smart. There are results from efforts to attract investments and companies. Wars are raging on elsewhere, but companies are coming here. That's an affirmation from other places. I want to recognize the efforts of the Immigration Department for adopting new initiatives. There are smart clearance systems. We now even have the contactless clearance system. This technology is also owned by the government. If the intellectual property is vested in the government, so I want to commend this. The public expectations will keep rising. Before 1997, when the British were around, the mantra was positive non-intervention. So that meant doing nothing. That's because of these foreigners. And there was this laissez-faire policy, meaning hanging everyone out to dry. But now we're back with our country. We treat the people as one of us. Under the leadership of our officials, we will have to meet people's rising expectations and meeting people's needs. The opposition camp is gone. The patriots are running Hong Kong. We should all be Red Team members. So we should be reminding each other about how we can do even better. We may hit the mark in our work, but can we do even better in adopting technology? And then sometimes the work we do is fine, but we also have to be mindful of people's perception. The civil servants I know want to do even better, but we have to go to the next level. So this requires political and administrative accountability. We also have to consider public feedback to achieve good governance. And then we have to incorporate national security into our work. There are now new challenges. We have to actively align with the national 15th five-year plan. We're now working on our own first five-year plan. The five-year plan is different from the policy address. The five-year plan is broader in scope. Many civil servants say the backbone of the government is the civil service. They need support, they need encouragement. So I hope civil servants can hold themselves to even higher standards. I so submit. Dr. Junius Ho. I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for her motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service. Other members have made suggestions. The Secretary has also said where we can do better. All that is fine. There are roughly 180,000 civil servants, even though the establishment is 190,000 posts. And then there are non-civil servants, non-civil service workers, and there are people working at the hospital authority. And then there are people working under contract. And that involves a huge number of workers. And then there are teachers. So you put everything together, that's over 300,000 people. The civil service as a system is great. Most of the workers are good. But then there are always bad apples in any organization. There are skivers, there are poor performers. We should not let them drag down everyone. There are 7.5 million people in Hong Kong, and then 300,000 civil servants or semi-civil servants. So that's like one civil servant for every 37, 38 members of the public. That's a very high ratio. That's why we spend a lot of our public money on civil servants. We need greater efficiency. We have to generate new revenue and contain costs. We have to ensure value for money. We have to convince the public that the civil service is not a bloated bureaucracy. We have to convince them that they get the bang for their buck. So how do we convince them? There are now 89 members of the Legislative Council. And there are attendance records and records of duty visits in the profile of every member. People can see that. So in a similar vein, we should tell the public what key performance indicators each senior official is working towards every year. You should lay everything on the table. We use information technology nowadays. There is the internet. There's big data. There is artificial intelligence. We put everything on the table. And then every month, the officials review their own performance to see if they hit the mark. So that gives people a picture. And then the public won't say they have no idea what you're doing and they are not sure whether you have hit the mark. You just put everything on the internet. Of course, you leave out the sensitive information. And then by the end of the year, everyone is supposed to deliver on the target. Such transparency requires the participation of civil servants. Once there is such a system, skivers will have a hard time shirking off. If we want to do away with skivers, we should let go those underperformers who deserve to go. Mr. Hong came in. Civil servants are the backbone of the government. They are key to social stability and implementing high-quality development. The performance of Hong Kong civil servants is globally recognized. The 2026 World Competitiveness Report put Hong Kong's competitiveness in the second place. We also come second in government efficiency. This points to the efficiency of our civil service. The government takes a result-oriented approach to its work. There are clear rules for rewards and punishment. And there is also the productivity enhancement program and also greater effort in training. To deepen reform, the government has established a head of department accountability system. This shows the government is determined to keep improving itself. public expectations of services are rising, and now artificial intelligence is all the rage. That brings an opportunity for reform. That we should ride on the momentum of technology. We should go faster in digitizing public services. We should enhance service reliability, and we should enhance cross-departmental services. Our key performance indicators should be closely aligned with people's well-being. There are also concerns about accountability over outsourced services. So I have some suggestions to make. First, we need a new mindset. We should appoint the right people to the right jobs. Chairman Mao Zedong had this to say: we get the political line right, and then the cadre will make or break the work. So we should deepen the exchange program with the mainland about job attachment. Performance should be the reference for promotion decisions. We should also reform the promotion system. We should remove the requirement about we should do away with seniority as a factor for promotion. We should break the mold in deciding who we promote. We need a new mindset. We should also go full steam ahead in digital transformation in public services. As we trim the establishment, we should also adopt technology. We should work with the Civil Service College and the Digital Policy Office. We should provide training on AI and new technologies for the civil service. To do the job right, you need good tools. AI can automate processes. And then there is also big data. These are great tools for the new era. The government should extensively adopt artificial intelligence. In going faster with the digital transformation of public services, we should cut waiting time for the public. We should improve the management system for outsourced services. Public satisfaction and the performance of cross-departmental collaboration should be part of the appraisal. We should strengthen oversight of outsourced services. We can outsource the services, but we should closely monitor the outcome. There should be regular surprise inspections on the front line to check on the quality of contractors, and we should monitor the conditions of the workers for these contractors. We need greater transparency. If we can be cautious, we will set ourselves up for success. Strengthening the governance of civil servants will be critical to our long-term stability. Our responsibility is important, and there's a long way to go. Civil servants are key to one country, two systems, and long-term stability and prosperity. And we should shoulder this responsibility. I so submit as support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and all amendments. Thank you.
Mr. Lam Wai-kong. Thank you, Deputy President. I thank Ms. Nixie LAM for moving the motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of civil service, as well as the amendments. The National 15th Five-Year Plan stipulates that Hong Kong should adhere steadfast to one country, two system, and also patriots administering Hong Kong. Now, the civil service as the core of the government, its efficacy directly relates on whether we can have good governance. It is closely related to everyone's well-being. The government is now leading Hong Kong to closely align with the National 15th Five-Year Plan and deeply integrate into the National Development Blueprint. Now, as a core support for this process, the burden on the civil service shoulder is ever heavier. Now, to strengthen the governance efficacy of civil service, we must start with inculcating a national identity, a good reward and punishment system, as well as adoption of INT. First of all, we need to enhance the national security awareness and national education for civil servants. They have to be mindful of their responsibility. Now, the integrity of the civil service and the high efficiency has been widely recognized. However, there are still some plights. For example, results on the surface, but not in depth. So we must start from changing the culture. Many civil service unions, as well as community organizations, support the effort. The government should allocate funding to support training partners to provide courses and allow flexible work arrangements so that civil servants can take these courses and inculcate in them a heart to serve the public. Second, we need an effective reward and punishment system to boost the morale as well as proactivity of the civil service. The mechanism must be objective, quantifiable, as well as pragmatic. There must be standardized assessment criteria. It must be fair and transparent. There must not be rigid targets which are out of touch with reality. We can't allow layoff on the name of getting rid of those who underperformed. On the other hand, we must set a quota of reward to recognize the efforts of the well performers. I support the work of the AI efficacy enhancement team. By systematically enhancing the AI capability of the civil service, we can automate a large number of frivolous paperwork, but we can't use this excuse to reduce the establishment. Or worse, lay off civil servants and then adopt technology. We must maintain a sufficient establishment to meet urgency. Now, concerning the outsourcing arrangement, according to past experience, the outsourcing arrangements would undermine the legal rights of grassroots workers, and also it would lead to a lack of responsibility holders. Now, we should revoke unreasonable outsourcing arrangements gradually. The government should take the lead and review the merits of outsourcing arrangements. For those job roles which are long-standing with a regular need, we need to assign permanent civil servants to discharge these duties. Now, I hope that the governments can be more proactive. I look forward to working hand-in-hand with the governments to build a civil service which is committed to the well-being of the public. I support the motion and the amendments. Reverend Peter Kuhn. Thank you, Deputy President. Last year, the World Competitive Report ranked Hong Kong's government efficiency as second in the world. It shows that our civil service as a whole is professional, meritorious, and capable. The problem is sometimes some sloppy civil servants make mistakes, but we still allow these black sheep to undermine the overall efficiency of the civil service. In the end, it has eroded the highly efficient image of the civil service. Now, according to the data, the salary and expenditure to civil servants, in addition to the $50 billion of pension fund as well as other benefits, have exceeded the threshold of $200 billion. In the eyes of the public, the civil service enjoys high salary. Now, since the salary is paid with public fund, I think the public has high expectation on the governance efficacy of the civil service, and that expectation is high. So whenever we hear about mistakes made by civil servants, the public would be very angry, and there would be a lot of skepticism on whether the high salary is justifiable. Now, the Wangfu Court fire is the example. Brave firemen have braved the blaze, and also a fireman has died. They are well worth of our respect. However, during the investigation, we found that there are gaps in communication, and there are several departments with dereliction of duties. And we can see the departments kicking the buckets around, refusing to take up responsibilities. These departments work under the same government. However, we often see shifting of responsibilities among departments. We have the Lemma Island incident, the lead water incident, as well as the procurement of bottled water recently. Some civil servants have a sloppy attitude and lack the strategic mindset to take responsibility and proactivity. They lack a sense of the big picture. Now, the entire civil service shares commendation and blame together. Now, the accumulation of mistakes would affect the overall image of the entire civil service. It is not worth it. To address the problem at the root, the government has enhanced the investigation mechanism. There is the heads of departments accountability system. So we hope that this system can achieve the target to award those who deserve it and punish those who should be punished. We need someone to take up responsibility whenever there are mistakes. We are at the crossroad of changes unseen in a century's time, and there are lots of geopolitical challenges. Hong Kong is also at the cusp of transformation. We are formulating the first Hong Kong 5-year plan, and we are promoting digitalization of civil service. We need the civil service to have a strategic mindset. They cannot be rigid. Enhancing the governance efficacy should not be empty talk. We need to enhance the civil service competitiveness so that we can contribute to the country. Now, the accountability system in the mainland should be a reference point. Now, when there are major mistakes, civil servants in the country will have to take up responsibility. We need to implement the system in Hong Kong as soon as possible. So I hope the government can make reference to past mistakes. So that the contribution made by the civil service will not be ruined by a small group of black sheep. Thank you. Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Deputy President. Having heard Reverend Peter Kuhn as well as Mr. Lam Wai Kong's speeches, I share the feelings. I think the government has improved a lot in terms of civil service governance. Now, when it comes to governance, there are several models. We are governed by fellow colleagues, or we're governed by interests, or we're governed by culture. In the past, we have the mentorship model. If the mentor is good, then the apprentice would do well. Now, in the civil service, it is a combination of all. In terms of interest-driven approach, we have the pension, and also the salaries for government officials are high. That's why many of my friends joined the government when we graduated. Now, concerning system and culture, there is the criticism that the interest is too stable. Without the incentive of interest, the civil service lacks a drive. So we have seen some improvements. We have the heads of departments accountability system, and also we have the so-called bell curve appraisal system. Those who underperform will not enjoy a pay increment. So this can serve as a reminder for the civil service. Of course, there are also commendation schemes and reward schemes. And with the technologies we have now, some jobs are no longer required in the civil service. Now, in the past, we have seen jobs where the only task is to issue fixed penalty tickets. So nowadays, we don't need that anymore. Now, we can how the civil service evolved to meet the changing needs through training, but I have some worries. After the MPF system is put in place, we are gradually phasing out the pension system. So I'm worried that the highly experienced senior officials would be attracted by a larger financial rewards in the private sector. So I think the government has to pay attention to the retention of talents, especially the highly experienced senior civil servants. Now, with the implementation of the MPF system, that may be a concern. Now, about the mindset of tackling issues, as mentioned by other members, there is a silo mindset among the departments. Now, at the panel meetings, we have asked the government whether we can offer a one-stop service to the public. Now, in Hong Kong, to apply for an approval to use a certain antibiotics for pigs, I need to go to several departments, for example, the FCD in Cheung Sha Wan and the FEHD. So can we streamline this workflow? The government should concentrate approval departments in one single complex. Now, I don't want to name certain departments, but there are some glaring examples. For example, the scalping issues as well as the transport departments. There are 4 offices, but only the one in Admiralty can issue a visa-free license. Now, there are scalpers who hike the price to $1,000. Now, with a narrow mindset, the government's departments only concerned about the problem in front of their eyes, and they are out of touch. There is a weak understanding of the reality, so that's why there are a lot of criticism. Time's up, Mr. Alan Chen.
Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of Ms. Nixie LAM's motion on enhancing the governance efficiency of the civil service as well as other amendments. The government needs to be forward-looking. The administration needs to have a long-term vision. I highly acknowledge the head of department accountability system as well as the enhanced performance appraisal mechanism. This system comes with clear rewards and punishment, which is widely recognized by the public. The Chief Executive has this resolve, and we need to make sure we will be forward-looking. We need to implement this policy at different levels. There are 24 core statutory organizations, 100,000 employees, and the total public assets amount to $1.1 trillion to $1.2 trillion. However, there is regulatory asymmetry under this mechanism. There are 2 key blind spots. 1, some fall outside the ambit of the Office of the Ombudsman. Next, some have their own operational autonomy. Some statutory organizations have too much liberty. There is room for improvement. As for lateral comparisons, Singapore has strict KPIs and accountability system. There is also a mechanism of supervision in the Chinese mainland. However, some organizations in Hong Kong cite the reason for financial autonomy or financial independence. There's a lack of reporting of their financial status to the Legislative Council. If such operations remain not transparent, there would be great drag when it comes to the implementation of these policies by the Chief Executive. Therefore, I advocate having a higher level supervision. We need to cover all statutory organizations in Hong Kong in relation to the performance appraisal enhancement scheme. This governance logic should be introduced into statutory organizations in Hong Kong. We also need to review the pay structure of statutory organizations. They should be given, they should be required to make reports in a transparent manner. We need to enhance the use of AI and digital governance as well. These matter to the governance of the government. I applaud the efforts of the government to improve I Am Smart. However, there is still room for improvement when it comes to its widespread use and consolidation. Take the Chinese mainland as an example. They have an integrated platform to handle all permits and licenses issued by the government. The urban brain of Hangzhou is also worth our reference. We need to move with the times. We need to continue to enhance our resolve to make reforms. This is exactly how we can improve pay structure, outsource operations, and so on. We need to make sure that we will be able to enhance governance efficacy in a well-rounded manner. Mr. Kitten Yang, thank you. There's the 6-point overall performance rating scale, as well as other disciplinary regulations concerning public officers, such as the PSCA, PSAO, and PSDR. We encourage innovation and reform. Civil servants need to stay alive to risks. They also need to have a sense of responsibility, and this is definitely good. Administrative officer grade and the mid to high level officer grades should accept applications from other elites of society. I'm glad to see that the head of the ISD and the FEHD is open to a wider range of talent. These positions are no longer held by AOs. This is the determination to enhance governance efficacy. I suggest that this should be extended to other levels such as assistant commissioner as well as other high-ranking officials. Recently, the Civil Service College has done a lot of work when it comes to enhancing patriotic education and national affairs education. Civil servants working in the middle to high levels are invited to go to the country to take part in different programs. Civil servants should be reminded to take refresher courses from time to time so that they will better understand the importance of a good culture. I expect that the Civil Service College will continue to enrich the programs offered. Civil servants need to continue to enhance its communication with the public. They also need to continue to stay innovative. They need to be responsive to risks. They need to answer the calls of the public and stay attuned to societal needs. We also need to rely on technologies in order to enhance the governance efficacy of the civil service. Take Shanghai as an example. They have a mechanism to coordinate different government departments to resolve the pain point when it comes to a lack of coordination among different government departments. This model is worth our consideration. The Digital Policy Office of the Hong Kong government is going to implement Consented Data Exchange Gateway, that is CDEG, so that public data can be shared in a safe manner. This will pave the way for cross-departmental collaboration and coordination. I'm glad to see that the government has set up the AI efficacy enhancement team. We have started to use technologies. The Development Bureau has already used paperless models to streamline procedures. The time taken to approve plans has been reduced. Within the government, we have started to use patrol dogs to reduce the risks to patrolling officers. AI system will also be able to scan CCTV clips speedily, and this will also reduce manpower needs. An integrated AI smart platform could be developed. We need to make good use of big data analyses, city management, a lot of risks. This will help different departments to make better decisions. Technologies will help civil servants to implement policies. Thank you. I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion. Mr. Nick Chen. Thank you. I speak in support of Ms. Nixie LAM's motion on enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service. The 15th five-year plan of our country supports the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, one country, two systems, and the Hong Kong people governing Hong Kong, as well as a high degree of autonomy in order to help Hong Kong to integrate into our national development. The government has taken the first step to enhance the governance of the civil service. This shows that we are determined to foster a more professional team. According to the World Competitiveness Yearbook 2026, issued by the IMD, Hong Kong continues to rise through the ranks when it comes to government efficiency. We ranked second globally just this year. We enjoy a worldwide reputation. In order to underscore Hong Kong's strengths of one country, two systems, and having staunch support from our motherland, we need to continue to enhance the supervision of the government when it comes to outsourcing quality or subcontracted quality. First of all, the government should continue to enhance the performance appraisal scheme. The civil service is well known for being professional and diligent. The government has launched enhancement measures. Drawing reference from global experience, we adopt a 6-point overall performance rating scale. This more accurately reflects the different work performance of civil servants. Those with good performance will have opportunities to realize their potential, whereas underperformers will be able to improve in a targeted manner. These measures are worth our commendation. Regarding the way forward, I suggest that the government should introduce potential development assessment. We need to assess the performance of civil servants from different perspectives. This will help us train civil servants with a better sense of mission as well as a global vision. We need high caliber talent within the civil service. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the civil service commitment to innovation and high quality service. This March, in the 51st Geneva Expo, the CEDD backed a total of 10 awards, including one gold award, which shows the government's resolution to pursue innovation. I'm honored that I was invited to be one of the assessors of the Civil Service Outstanding Service Award scheme. I witnessed the high level of professionalism, proactiveness, innovation, and pursuit for excellence. I'm deeply moved by the high quality of the civil service as well as the services they provide. I believe the administration could continue to promote such success examples. Departments need to continue to be responsive to needs. They need to embrace needs. This should be the common goal of not just the civil service but also other wage earners in Hong Kong. This will better allow us to answer the calls of the public. In addition to grooming talent, we need to promote cross-departmental data sharing. We need to refrain from a silo mentality so that we will not become a data silo. The DPO, Digital Policy Office, has done a lot in this regard. I hope that data of different departments could be consolidated so that we can benefit the public. Enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service aims to enhance the efficiency of the work of civil servants. I think this is definitely worth our support. I support the motion moved by Ms. Nixie LAM. I also support other amendments.
Dr. Thomas So. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion on enhancing the governance and efficacy of the civil service. Recent media reports covered the civil service pay rise and the latest appraisal mechanism. That generated more debate about the government mechanisms and also efficacy of governance. This also brings higher expectations of public governance. As other members have said, the 2026 World Competitiveness Report puts Hong Kong in the second place in competitiveness. This factors in a few elements: the economy, government efficiency, the business environment, and also infrastructure. This result shows our government is excellent, but we constantly strive to do even better. So we should think about how to further improve the performance of the civil service. The policy address last year proposed follow-up measures to improve the efficacy of governance, and that includes establishing the heads of departments accountability system and also the two-tier investigation system. The subsidiary legislation for the Public Service Commission has gone through the scrutiny. This is to ensure greater credibility for the investigation. I was a member of the subcommittee, so I support the regulation. The regulation will help the administration identify the cause of a problem sooner, and this should be the basis of the investigation. Since the regulation's scrutiny is now complete, I hope this mechanism can work so that people can see the government's resolve in reform. We also need clearer guidelines on the investigation so that the civil servants under investigation can seek legal advice, and this can show procedural justice. This year marks the beginning of our country's 15th five-year plan. The SCL government is working on its own five-year plan. And the work requires close cross-departmental collaboration. Take supporting mainland enterprises in going global as an example. Invest Hong Kong under the CEDB proposed creating a directorate post to assist mainland businesses in going global through Hong Kong and also following up on attracting investments. The Department of Justice also proposed creating a directorate post of a government council. This officer will assist with the work of helping mainland businesses go global. So the work involves both the CEDB and the Department of Justice, because the CEDB faces businesses, whereas the DOJ deals with the professional sector. We need different sides to work together to achieve synergy. There is now a global task force. Both the CEDB and the DOJ are represented on the task force, but this task force is administrative in nature. There is no legal provision for this task force. For our country's 15th five-year plan and our own five-year plan, the government should institutionalize the dialogue and partnership across departments. We should grow the pie of bringing in investments and businesses so that we can create jobs and increase people's income. So for the government's internal dialogue mechanisms, we should institutionalize such mechanisms. We should clarify the existing collaboration mechanisms to respond to the public's expectations about breaking down barriers across departments. Institutionalizing arrangements can also lead to better regulation. Improving the efficacy of governance will require greater credibility and also institutionalizing cross-departmental collaboration. We need continuous effort on these two fronts. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim. In the 2026 World Competitiveness Report published by the IMD earlier this year, Hong Kong's competitiveness rose to the second place globally. We continue to rank second in government efficiency. This fully shows the trust and affirmation from the global community of our own government as we prepare our own five-year plan. Raising our governance efficacy is key to our own plan and also integrating into and serving the national development. I have some suggestions to make. I urge the government to improve the management of the civil service. First, we need a targeted and personalized key performance indicator system for civil servants, and we need pilots. The civil service pay rise has adopted a flat increase for 2 years in a row. And this may have a bad impact because everybody seems to get the same outcome, whatever effort they have made. When we look at improving the efficacy of governance, we will need a more nuanced and sophisticated approach. We will need a differential treatment when it comes to the pay rise. And we should also adapt to the digital transformation, and this means we should go faster in adopting digital technology. The Inland Revenue Department is looking to introduce the second generation of large language models so that they can digitalize their work. The business version of I Am Smart will be launched by the end of this year so that tax returns and business registration can be dealt with on a one-stop platform. We should explore that, but we should go faster. tax and audit departments should make a greater department to drive digital transformation so that the work is empowered by technology and we can then enhance government efficiency. We should promote training in the mainland for our civil servants. We should arrange job attachments for civil servants, especially in the rest of the GBA, so that civil servants learn about the developments and opportunities in the GBA, and then civil servants will be able to serve Hong Kong and contribute to our country with a broader mind, with a more strategic perspective. We also need a stronger sense of accountability. With patriots in charge, we should ensure principal officials are proactive, they are accountable, and they should be in close contact with the industry so that officials' powers match their responsibilities and we are fair in rewards and punishment. For senior civil servants, we should consider open recruitment so that those positions become more competitive. President Xi Jinping stressed once again in his key speech on the 1st of July the need for law-based governance in Hong Kong and Macau. The Hong Kong SAR government is working on its first five-year plan to actively align with the national 15th five-year plan. This is a critical and pivotal opportunity for us to pursue reform. We should seize this historic opportunity. We should answer the call for reform so that the civil service will be an elite team serving the local community, Hong Kong, and our country. I also submit a support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and all amendments. Mr. Adrian Ho. The recently published 2026 World Competitiveness Report puts Hong Kong in the second place in efficiency. Hong Kong also secured the second spot in government efficiency. That is an impressive result, but we strive for perfection. We either move forward or we fall behind. Complacency with the second place means we will fall behind. Our rivals will overtake us and leave us in the dust. So we have to improve the governance efficacy of the civil service. The government recently proposed the performance appraisal enhancement scheme. That's fantastic. We have to remove the subjective element. In the past, the appraisal was all about vibes. The vibes-based judgment in appraisal becomes a matter of impression in the workplace. So we need more objective and quantifiable key performance indicators. Otherwise, star performers work themselves to the ground and then the idlers simply shirk responsibility. So we need clear number-based indicators, and then we can tell the good performance apart from the idlers, and then management can deploy the manpower and then they can be fair in rewards and punishment. On governance efficacy, electronic public services are the first point of contact for the public. There are so many apps people can use for complaints and providing information. There's 1823, and then there's HK Youth Plus, and then there's the Water Services Department's app, along with many other apps. For people looking to complete certain procedure, they have to guess which department runs which app. This is hardly one-stop service. Such digital fragmentation wastes storage space on people's mobile phones. And then there are also administrative costs. I see Ms. Lillian Chung here. I Am Smart was rolled out in 2020. That was a major step forward, and people were surprised to learn about this service. it's funny in the sense that because back then people knew very little about public services, and now in 2026 we're looking to upgrade IM Smart. People will no longer have to guess which department is in charge of what. It's like shopping online. You don't care which warehouse the good comes from. So the government should link up all the backstage data so that on the same platform with the same account, people can get everything sorted. And people should not have to navigate to tons of different departments just to get something done. OECD's reports in 2025 and 2026 also argue that governments around the world are incorporating AI into public services. Look at us. The Ombudsman investigated the licensing office of the Transport Department. People still had to start queuing at the office in the small hours. For those who don't know what's going on, they thought those people were queuing for concert tickets. So we should be bold in promoting AI-powered self-services so that inquiries and license renewal can be provided 24/7. If people want to renew their driver's license in the middle of the night, they should be able to do that on their smartphones or go to a self-service kiosk. They should not have to be left waiting forever at the counter. Data checking and chop and stamping a chop are repetitive tasks. Civil servants should not have to do that again. Machines can take over. Times are changing, people's expectations are also changing. It shouldn't be just about getting a new form or holding a conference. We need a branch and root and stem transformation of digitization.
Mr. Robert Lee, thank you, Deputy President. In his July the first speech, President Xi mentioned the four hopes for the Hong Kong SL government, including enhancing the efficacy of the government and be results-oriented. Now, the 2025 World Competitiveness Yearbook ranked Hong Kong's governance efficiency the second in the world for 2 consecutive years. It shows that, compared with other places, our government is very efficient. But today's motion debate is not about criticizing the efficiency of the civil service, but rather to further improve the governance efficiency so as to consolidate Hong Kong's competitiveness in terms of finance, I&T, and logistics. Now, in terms of the Audit Commission's report, the Audit Commission would scrutinize the work of all departments and make recommendations. Now, this year's report shows that there are some delays in terms of approving funding applications. There's also lost trips in public transport services. For example, in terms of ferry, the Audit Commission has conducted a site visit at Piers and found that all 10 shops on the ground floor were closed during the visit. The premises might have been used for storage purpose. The Audit Commission also found that some ferry routes has a frequency of 10 minutes per arrival, but rather than 5 minutes. So we should ensure that the departments have set up a timetable to implement the recommendations of the Audit Commission and report to the public in a timely manner to ensure that the monitoring system is effective. And also in terms of administrative monitoring and tender evaluation, a more prudent approach should be adopted to ensure that the public money is well spent. In terms of strengthening cross-departmental collaboration and attracting businesses, now with the government's efforts, talents and businesses have been attracted to Hong Kong. Now with the establishment of the Oasis and dedicated team for attracting talent. The KPI set in the policy address have been surpassed, showing that the government's efforts has paid off. However, we welcome more businesses to come to Hong Kong. According to some overseas businesses, they are unsure which government departments to approach when they want to come to Hong Kong. So in order to enhance the interdepartmental communication system, there should be a dedicated mechanism set up so that the inquiries can be passed on to the points of contact to enhance efficiency. Now, in terms of AI, by using AI, we can help civil servants overcome the obstacles on the approval process. Now, the AI efficacy enhancement team has been formulating ways to adopt AI. This is worth commending. We need to extend the scope of AI usage in civil service. We can use AI to enhance the approval process and enhance the sharing of information across departments. AI should also be adopted in monitoring the daily operation of departments. Quantifiable targets should be set up, and the government should collaborate with the business sector to transform technologies into enhancements of efficiency. Now, to maintain our unique advantage, we need to maintain a highly efficient civil service. As always, I hope the civil service will rise to our expectation. Thank you. Mr. Kingsley Wong. Thank you, Deputy President. Now, a civil service with high quality is important for the development of the country and Hong Kong. Now, we need to strengthen the national security awareness and fully implement the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. Now, some government officials, including those heading the disciplinary services, must be Chinese nationals. They cannot have overseas citizenship. However, other high officials, including the director of Invest Hong Kong and other departments, do not have that restriction. There is not a reporting system of dual citizenship as well. Now, since these high-level officials can obtain sensitive information, we have to address this loophole. Now, some government officials had Australian and UK citizenship, and there was a scandal that a retired government official ran in a UK election 2 years after retirement, causing the concern of dual loyalty. So for those above the grade of D4, that is AOSG B1, we need to implement the nationality requirements to all high-level government officials as well as head of departments to fully implement the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. Now, there will be more and more 5-year plans in the future. We need to be proactive in aligning with the country's strategies. We should provide more opportunities for civil servants to be seconded to ministries and provincial governments in the mainland. We need those experience in order to formulate a plan to drive Hong Kong's economic development and also contribute to the country. By the end of year 2023, the first batch of government officials were seconded to the hotel area in Shenzhen for 3 months exchange. By the end of 2024, some 20 civil servants have engaged in exchange with mainland officials, but the size of the group is too small, and we need to enhance the program by increasing the number of participants and elevating the level of officials. There should be more secondment opportunities in other provincial and state ministerial bodies so that the civil servants can learn about the experience to promote industrial and economic development. Now, since the launch of the heads of departments accountability system, many civil servants have said that there are more and more restrictions. The formal concern now is to avoid making mistakes by doing less. Now, while we are enhancing the executive-led administrative system, government officials must be flexible and embrace changes. They shouldn't be rigid. So while enhancing our expectation on civil servants, there must be a fault-tolerant system to encourage civil servants to stay committed and brave reforms. Now, with the rapid developments of technology, civil servants need to be proactive and brave in taking forward reforms. If they fail in the end, we have to be tolerant. We must make a difference. We must separate involuntary mistakes from deliberate ones. Thank you. Mr. Webster. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the motion as well as the amendments. Now, governance efficacy may seem to be an administrative issue, but actually it goes deeper. There is cost effectiveness as well as the accountability of contracts. Now, the direction of accelerating digitalization is correct. Now, the flagship program of the Smart City Blueprint is EMPF. Now, I declare interest. I am a board member of the MPFA. Now, it covers 300,000 employees, so it is necessary. Now, during the transitional period, the accounting industry is experiencing some pain. For example, wrong formats, long waiting time for customer service, and also lack of compatibility between the existing software and the AI-assisted software. However, it doesn't mean that the direction is wrong. It is just an inevitable period whenever we launch a large-scale electronic platform. So the government must understand the plight experienced by the industry and use the experience in future projects to reduce the shock. Now, second, in terms of monitoring outsourced service, we need to migrate from the lowest bidder wins to a quality-oriented approach. Now, Mr. Chen's amendment mentioned that we need to be mindful of that. Now, in recent years, the cleansing contracts of FHD, security contracts of the LCSD, as well as other outsourced contracts have garnered concern. Now, the crux of the issue is not about outsourcing, but rather the principle of lowest bidder wins. It has sacrificed the quality of work as well as labor's right. Now, this is a systematic financial project to manage an outsourced contract, so we need to strengthen monitoring. Now, during the tendering stage, the due diligence should cover more than the tender price, but rather the financial health of the applicants and also the past record. The second stage should involve independent auditors to conduct regular auditing to ensure that the MPF contributions and other payments go to the employees rather than the intermediaries. Now, the final stage is to review the results and include that results in the next tender evaluation exercise. Now, the value for money audit focuses on the assessment of the economy of the contract. It will help the government judge whether money is well spent. Now, we need professional knowledge as well as intimate knowledge of the reality to set policies. Now, we need to ensure that the policies are in touch with the reality. Now, when we are reforming the tax regime as well as the tax regime for family offices, civil servants must be able to understand the financial statements and assess the market's situation. So there must be regularized advisory mechanism involving the private sector. Now, the World Competitiveness Yearbook ranks Hong Kong's government efficiency as the second in the world. That is very commendable. However, the expectation is ever higher on civil servants. Civil servants must go beyond finishing the job to getting the job well done. They need to serve the public with the right attitude. Now we are at the historical milestone of formulating our own 5-year plan. So we need to be mindful of every step taken. We have to be strategic. We need to have a highly professional and committed civil service to implement the proposals. Enhancing the civil service can ensure that we can implement the measures fully. Thank you.
Ms. Rebecca Chen. Thank you, Deputy President. In recent years, there have been public concerns over government governance, including work attitude of civil servants as well as the pay mechanism. The current term government has done quite a lot, including the new performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants, the setup of the AI efficacy enhancement team, as well as the head of department accountability system. This reflects that the administration has identified these issues. The efficiency of the civil service has been ranking high around the world. I had been working in the government as well. A lot of civil servants worked very hard. They are diligent. When it comes to the motion debate on enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service, we are not saying that civil servants aren't hardworking enough, but we are exploring ways to make improvements. We need to set up a mechanism that allows us to make continuous improvements. We need to see how we can really improve the well-being of the public, such as the scheme to combat hygiene black spots. Within 3 years, all the hygiene black spots all over Hong Kong saw a decrease in the number from 700 to 57. But what about the perception of the public? I'd like to share with you a real case. This may provide us with some food for thought. Just off an industrial building in Sham Shui Po, some dump trucks occupied the street parking meters. They occupied the streets, and the sidewalks next to the parking meters have become areas where they dump miscellaneous items and garbage. Blockage of pipes has been seen. Complainants made complaints through the scheme to combat hygiene black spots. The FEHD sent officers to carry out inspections, and they replied in a speedy manner. The situation had improved for a short period of time, but soon enough, we saw a relapse in the situation. The FEHD said that officers inspected the scene, and on the sidewalks, miscellaneous items were not seen. They had already been cleared. That is why they found that the hygienic conditions of the streets were passable. But then the stores nearby were not content with the situation. The garbage was simply moved elsewhere. From the perspective of the public, there is just one single government. However, if departments keep passing the buck, in the eyes of the public, they may think that there is one single government, but then they have no departments to make any complaint. They expect that when they have made one complaint, then the situation will improve. The problem would have been solved. They do not want to be given runarounds, and then they need to reach out to different departments such as the transport department or the traffic branch of the police force. This gives members of the public the perception that the different departments are passing the buck. There needs to be a collaborative mechanism among different government departments. Greater support should be provided. There are over 50 departments responsible for executing policies, over 15 bureaus. As society is evolving, we cannot neglect or ignore any bread and butter issues in society. Otherwise, the situation will only become more complicated. This has to do with the entire civil service. This is a systemic problem, and we do need to iron out this issue. If we want to enhance the governance efficacy of the civil service, we need to change the silo mentality of different government departments. They should not be allowed to pass the buck anymore. We need to solve the problem at source. This is exactly how we can help members of the public to solve problems. Thank you. Mr. Peter Shield. Thank you, President. The civil service in Hong Kong is outstanding. This is agreed by most members of the public. Many government officials enjoy a huge paycheck. They earn even more than the private sector. However, some people recently think that civil servants enjoy lifelong job security. So as long as they do not make mistakes, they will have a stable job all the way until retirement. I believe this is the perception of a lot of members of the public. That said, after Mr. John Lee, the chief executive, took office, he has been carrying out reforms in a pragmatic manner. He adopts a results-driven approach, including the revision to the Civil Service Code of Regulations, making clear the core value of civil servants, and there is even the government mobilization scheme. The rewards and punishment system has been enhanced, head of department accountability system, performance appraisal enhancement scheme for CS, that is civil servants. All these are policies carried out to respond to the calls of the public. That is how we can enhance the efficiency of the civil service. From the incident at Wentworth Court, which no one at all wants to see, the chief executive led secretaries of department as well as bureau chief to lead post-disaster relief. Many members of the public give them thumbs up. This is an unfortunate, heartbreaking incident, but the many members of the public are moved by the diligence of the civil service. They are like one big family. They help to solve different issues. They provide support. And I believe this is a good example in which you will see civil servants work very hard to improve the well-being of the public. Just 2 days ago, I talked to Mr. Tommy Zhang. We agreed that civil servants do not pass the buck, and this is exactly the spirit of Hong Kong being one home. The promotion mechanism of civil servants, well, you do need to think how to let high-caliber civil servants get promoted. The director of the FEHD actually came from the police force. As long as a civil servant is of high caliber, they should be allowed to rise through the ranks, not just one rank by another rank. And I believe this is a wake-up call to civil servants. They do need to work with diligence. AI can definitely help Hong Kong progress and prosper. It also helps to enhance the efficiency of civil servants. We should not be shying away from using AI. We need to turn AI into good account. As long as we make good use of AI, there will be desirable results. A member of the public just told me 2 weeks ago that they walked down the stairs and the garbage was swept to both sides of the road. Why? That is because those two sides of the road are under the purview of the Lands Department, and then the Lands Department will have to be responsible for that. We need to remind frontline workers not to pass the buck, and I believe the Secretary will continue to encourage and incentivize them. I'd like to remind members, in accordance with the rules of procedure, I will suspend the meeting at around 6:30 p.m. Tomorrow, when we resume the meeting, I will ask the mover of the motion to speak on the amendments. Then we will continue to handle other business of the council meeting. Mr. Ken Lee. Thank you, President. I believe no one will deny the fact that we can use AI to enhance governance efficiency. AIR, that is AI ready, this concept has been floated. It's actually simple. We need to use AI to improve our work efficiency. From the perspective of governance, advocacy, we need to be AI ready. It's not just about technologies. More importantly, we need to be ready when it comes to our mindset. We need to have a tool, then we will be ready in terms of hardware. However, we need to be ready when it comes to our mindset as well. Otherwise, this will directly affect the public perception of the civil service. 319 knowledge-based workers in 136 new AI use cases. We found that AI could enhance efficiency. However, this undermines the critical thinking of workers. In other words, the more they are reliant on AI, the less of a critical thinkers they are. When civil servants use AI, they should not be just after speed. Gatekeeping should not be left to machines or equipment. It's all about developing a team of civil servants that are AI ready. It's not just about skills, procedures, workflow. We need to seamlessly connect all these aspects. The government also needs to establish AI application guidelines. We need to improve the digital literacy of civil servants. We also need to train ethics and judgment when it comes to the use of AI. We need to link the training of AI to the work scenarios of civil servants. Otherwise, there will be a great risk of misuse of tools or AI. Take Singapore as an example. When civil servants use AI, Singapore civil servants also need to undergo training when it comes to AI literacy, that is, using AI in a responsible manner. In other words, you do not just teach people to use this technology, but then you need to teach them how to use this technology. AI manuals should also be provided so that different departments will know when they can use AI and under what circumstances they need to tread with caution. Record keeping taking stock of the results of the use of AI, all these matter. AI should be considered just an assistive tool. It should not be responsible for making decisions. This reflects a cardinal principle. Technologies can assist in administrative procedures, but technologies could not make any administrative decisions. When it comes to public image and socially sensitive issues, we need to encourage the collaboration between manpower and AI. We should not leave it to AI alone. We need to develop a team that makes good use of AI, that has digital literacy, and that has a sense of responsibility. We can upgrade platforms, we can upgrade technologies, but then we need to develop sense of responsibility. And this is exactly what I mean by AI ready. We need to be AI ready, but also AI mindset ready. Thank you. I shall submit.
Ms. Grace Chen. I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and the 4 amendments for their amendments. We're talking about enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service. I want to talk about institutional design and also the mindset in execution. I want to share some observations. No amount of institution will do if the person executing the policy is the problem. And we should guard against going overboard in regulation. Otherwise, risk-averse civil servants will not want to act. I want to highlight this problem with a couple of examples. First, monitoring outsourced services. A lot of frontline services are outsourced, and this includes street cleaning, facility management, and security work. Monitoring outsourced workers is now a core duty of civil servants. I met with frontline workers performing the outsourced services. There are budget cuts, so the frontline workers are shorter protective kit, and they don't get enough rest. Even under intense heat, they don't get help from the contractor, so they can only turn to the civil servants monitoring the contractors. And when civil servants are held accountable for mistakes, they are left in a bind. There are situations where we can do better. We lack an effective tool for monitoring. So now there's an asymmetry of power and responsibilities. When we look at the performance of civil servants monitoring contractors, we should include this factor in their annual appraisal. My next example has to do with the use of innovative technology. The government encourages the use of AI to boost efficiency, but then subvented social welfare organizations are facing cuts to their resources, and we have to endure cuts in subvention of up to $3 billion. So where do civil servants come in here? When we talk about enhancing the governance capacity of civil servants, we also have to look at the operational efficiency of schools, subvented organizations, and statutory organizations. When we say we should use AI, the government does not provide resources for AI adoption for schools, subvented organizations, and statutory organizations. The government should set up dedicated funds so that public and statutory bodies, schools, and social welfare organizations can procure AI-based systems. Boosting the governance efficacy of the civil service should be about having the right institutional support and roles matching their responsibilities. I support Ms. Nixie LAM's motion and the amendments from the 4 members. Thank you. Ms. Jovi Chan. Thank you. I support enhancing the governance efficacy of the civil service, and I also support all amendments. I want to discuss going faster in digitizing public services and also achieving greater efficiency. I took part in a Beijing forum on public services. They used the hotline 18235, and that's how they enhance people's sense of well-being and fulfill and satisfaction. Afterwards, I put in an oral question and a written question. For my oral question, Professor Sun Dong gave me a reply. We have the right hardware, but we have to do something about our software, and this has to do with 1823, and it also has to do with district governance. A couple of weeks ago, I took part in the filming of a documentary involving Beijing's hotline 12345. That hotline has come a long way in delivering a better life for people, because for that hotline, they stepped up the service for the vulnerable and expats. We should reform 1823, and we can look to Beijing's example, and this can help us align with the 15th Five-Year Plan, and we can avoid detours, and people will have an easier time accessing services. 1823 was set up as an inquiry hotline. Some people struggle to tell what 1823 is. One means it's one phone number, and people can access all government services. That's 8. It's 24/7, and 3 languages are available on this hotline. But 1823 has also come under fire, slow response, complaints receiving no response, etc. AI was used in 1823 for addressing inquiries and complaints. Improvement has been seen in terms of quality and quantity. But 1823 is like a semi-finished product. Some cases remain stuck. On Yingpeng Road in Shatin, the case was referred to the housing department. That's because there's an estate called Yingpeng Estate in Shatin, so that case got stuck in the system for a while. More reform is needed for 1823. On upgrading public services through reforming 1823, I have some suggestions. First, public satisfaction after they use this service should be an indicator we consider in promotion, so that will encourage a more people-centric approach and more empathetic services. We held a talk on May 4th this year for young people. We talked about different issues, including young people joining the civil service. They supported reforming 1823. They also supported adopting public satisfaction as an indicator for promotions, so as to get civil servants to become more proactive. Beijing's 12345 hotline also got involved in emergency response. So for us, when we reform 1823, we should enhance its capacity in terms of the back-end support for emergencies. Aside from using chatbots to generate replies, we should also use AI to compile the data from complaints for analysis. There's a monthly bring-up system in Beijing, so they focus on frequent complaints, and then they rise to challenges and they resolve problems in people's daily lives. The government here is trying to align with the 15th Five-Year Plan and also an AI Plus initiative. Continuous use of AI in public services can drive upgrading and transformation in the community. We should use 1823 and the big data from that so that we can proactively identify the long-standing problems for the people, and we should incorporate 1823 into our first 5-year plan so that we can set the directions for our travel. Professor Alex Fan. I support the motion and all amendments. Members have spoken at length about a range of issues about training, recruitment, etc. My concern is whether this change in the appraisal system can truly make a difference, and this is a make or break question. In October this year, we will start to see phase 1 of the performance appraisal enhancement scheme for civil servants. There will be a guided distribution system. For those at levels 4 to 6, they will make up 5% to 10%, and these people will be denied to pay increment. And if departmental heads do not want to follow this guideline, they will have to offer a written explanation. Given the fiscal strain and the government is still willing to go ahead with the reform, I recognize the government's effort. A long-standing complaint is about the over-generous performance ratings for civil servants. Everybody gets the incremental jump by default. The system does not tell us who the star performers are. So the conscientious workers and the idlers get the same treatment, and this hurts morale. The government admitted to this overgenerous problem. Those who muddle along should not get the increment. It's not about how we phrase the provisions, it's more about whether the appraising officers are truthful in their appraisal. Overgenerous appraisals are the result of an excessively complicated system. For those who want to say their subordinate is an underperformer, it's a complex procedure for the appraising officer. So we should help appraising officers to accurately reflect the performance of their teammates. I support this guided distribution system. I can also understand the community's concerns about the stack ranking system. It shouldn't be about making the departmental heads to designate a certain number of people as underperformers. The point should be giving the pay increment only to the good performers. We can have flexibility. If everybody is doing a fine job, we should be pragmatic. There is also a need to make sure there is no abuse alongside flexibility. I have a couple of suggestions. We need an internal monitoring system. The government should review the actual distribution of performance ratings from time to time. If certain departments deviate from the guidelines over a long term, an explanation should be required from the departmental heads required, and then we hold the department head responsible. And this should be required for the HOD accountability system. Implementation is about proactive monitoring whether action is taken based on deviation. And we shouldn't just count on good behavior from departments. Now for the timeline, we need a clearer timeline. Phase 1 simply requires each department to nominate 1 or 2 core grades for the enhanced system, and then 1 to 2 cycles later we will implement the full system. It will take 2 to 3 years before we can extend the system to the entire civil service. I get it, why we need an incremental approach, but my concern is that whether the scheme can be implemented in a timely way. We want to achieve greater efficiency and efficacy. So most civil servants will still operate under the old system, so we won't be able to tell the star performers from the underperformers. We want civil servants to do better, but this mechanism for us to tell the good and bad performance cannot keep up. We should set out a clear timeline for the phased implementation. We need a clear deadline, so then we should explain the matter to the public. We should make sure that this system is rolled out in a timely way.
Mr. Ray Wong, President, as a member of the industrial sector, I support this motion. Hong Kong is migrating from conventional service industry to an emerging digital economy. This transitional period is critical. Now, we need the government to be proactive. The government must have a strategic mindset to govern Hong Kong with digital assistance. Now, it would decide the pace of our transformation and also the success of the INT development blueprint. Now, I would make 3 suggestions from a pragmatic point of view. First of all, the government must be a better facilitator. There must be a culture to brave mistakes. Now, in the past, the focus stresses too much on the process. Now, different departments have different requirements, and repeated submission of documents cause delay. So the government should become a facilitator from an approval giver. The government must give proactive advice to the applicants so as to limit the number of vetting rounds to 2. Now, in terms of administration, I suggest the government adding a component in the appraisal report, components like commitment as well as courage to brave mistakes. There must be room to tolerate genuine mistakes. Now, as long as the approval agencies have conducted sufficient risk assessment exercise on the premise of quality as well as avoidance of catastrophic mistakes, there must be a certain room to allow the applicants to make mistakes. Now, in terms of granting funding application, there should be a shorter interval in approving the funding applications by using technologies. Now, the CSB should give a clear account of the conditions to invoke the Tier 2 investigation mechanism under the heads of department accountability system via internal email to ensure the civil servants that the Tier 2 investigation would not be invoked on an arbitrary basis. Now, we should empower new industries by using technologies. Now, with the consented data exchange platform, there has been more than 39 million exchanges conducted. Now, we must establish a multifunctional government e-service platform across different departments. Now, the AI efficacy enhancement team led by the Chief Secretary for Administration has already formulated a work plan. It seeks to launch AI tools covering 100 civil services. Now, we should prioritize the use case scenario in the industry. For example, the enhanced corporate ID as well as I'm Smart Plus integrated platform. Now, I hope the government can launch the AI assistance function by the end of this year by using the large language model technology to enhance funding approval for SMEs, to help SMEs upgrade their operations. Now, we need to reform the outsourcing arrangement as well. We need to provide more support to local research products. Now, 90% of the government's procurement exercises have given more weight to the technical weighting as much as 50%. Now, the procurement policy shows how efficient the government is. There's still much room for improvement. Now, there should be KPIs to require, and also we should require departments to promise to give priority to locally developed products. The procurement plan as well as the use of local products should be included in the appraisal reports. Now, enhancing the procurement system is not simply an internal administrative improvement. It will provide support to Hong Kong's I&T development. Now, let's provide the strong support for the development of industry. As the remaining time is insufficient to complete the proceedings for this motion, the Council is now suspended until 9 a.m. tomorrow.